were to challenge you to write down all the good and wonderful things God has done for you, what would you write? In one of my wilderness sessions, God asked me to do just that. He asked me to recall miracles, large and small, that I had witnessed, or blessings he had given me. Each day, God challenged me to read them over and over again and reflect upon the list. Encouragement from my mom kept ringing in my ears. God has been with you up till now, and he has never failed you yet. In the wilderness seasons of our life, our minds tend to default to the worst possible outcome. We focus on our fears. We feel out of control. But this is the very place of testing. Will we choose to trust that God has our best interest in mind at all times? Will we believe he will give us the strength to defeat the giants like Joshua?
Second year, third month, first day. We are now camped at Kadesh Barnea in the wilderness of Zin, right on the edge of Negev. The promised land is in sight. When we arrived here, Yahweh told Moses that we were camped on the edge of the mountains of the Amorites. They are one of the 7 nations of people Yahweh promised that we would dispossess. The entire camp is buzzing with excitement. When we arrived, Moses told us, "The land is before you. God has given it to you. Go up and possess it." One man from each tribe has been chosen by Moses to spy out the land that Yahweh has given to us and bring back a report of what they saw and also some fruit from the land. I'm excited to represent the tribe of Ephraim. Caleb will also be going, representing Judah. We have been given a rudimentary parchment map of sorts given to us by the Midianites, which was in the possession of Moses. I've been studying it, trying to plan our route and the best strategy for travel. We have 40 days in which to find out what kind of land is before us. We were told to cross the southern part of the Promised Land, the Negev, go up into the mountains of the Amorites. Then we are to try to discover who was living there, how many people were there, if the cities were walled or fortified, and if the land was good for growing crops. The grapes should be just ready for harvest this time of the season, and we are to bring back some of the fruit to show the others. There is an ancient city there named Hebron, which was built even before Zoan was built in Egypt. I'm most excited to see that city. Moses has started calling me Hoshea, which means salvation. I'm excited to receive this new name from Yahweh. I love lingering in his presence after Moses meets with him in the tabernacle. Second year, third month, second day. The 12 of us, all strong leaders from our tribes, headed north from Kadesh yesterday morning. Our small search party of men can travel much faster now. We hope to keep a pace of roughly 20 miles per day. It is very hot this time of year, as it is summertime, so some of the time we'll be traveling by night. We will soon be out of the wilderness of Zin and headed up into the mountains. Second year, third month, 22nd day. Caleb and I are elated at the beautiful land before us. There are lush green mountains and trees, beautiful vineyards, and fields of wheat and barley. We have come past the great walled city of Hebron and continue even farther north past this great salt lake. The others, however, are becoming more and more fearful as time goes on. When we went by the area of Hebron, we saw the descendants of Anak. The men were so large, roughly 13 feet tall. I had heard about them from Moses, but I must admit they are a frightening sight. However, to Yahweh, these men would be just as grasshoppers. I was able to push this fear of them out of my mind and comfort myself by remembering what our God has done for the Egyptians, especially with the parting of the Red Sea. Caleb and I actually laughed about all the different ways Yahweh could take out the giants. The others, though, were not able to shake the fear of them. Today we saw the Jordan River for the first time. The valley here is superior for growing crops. It will not be long, and this land will be ours. Second year, fourth month, 11th day. If my calculations are correct, we will be arriving back at the camp in Kadesh Barnea tomorrow. We have brought back a grapevine loaded with grapes so large that Shemua and Palti are carrying it on a pole between them. I am sure that Moses will be interested to hear about our report, but I have a feeling of foreboding. The other men have become more isolated and quiet, especially since coming back south past the huge walled city of Hebron again, and home of the Anakim. I have noted that the Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, the Hittites, Jebusites, Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea and the banks of the Jordan. Second year, fourth month, 12th day. Yesterday truly was a day of all days. Caleb and I are still shaking from the memory of it. As planned, we arrived in the camp and gave a report of our spy mission. When the congregation was assembled, Shaphat from the tribe of Simeon pushed his way forward to report to the group. We went to the land where you sent us. It truly flows with milk and honey, and this is fruit. Nevertheless, the people who dwell in the land are strong. The cities are fortified and very large. Moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there. My heart was pounding at this point. I should have known their fear of the Anakim was beginning to spread and spill over into the congregation. Everyone started to cry out and murmur. Caleb stepped forward and quieted the people. He assured them we should go up at once and possess the land. We could do it. But the fear had taken hold of the people and spread like fire. It was as if they could not think or reason. They forgot all that Yahweh had done for them in the past. Now the men who had gone with us could not even see one thing about the land that was good. This is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people are great stature. Now the report had grown into an outright lie. How did that happen so quickly? This negative report spread like a plague of fear through the camp. The people began to weep in their tents and then became angry. Moses tried to calm the people, reminding them that the Lord had fought for them in Egypt right before their eyes. Then he carried them safely all the way to this place, the edge of the promised land. He reminded them how Yahweh had searched out the way they should go, all along the way with a fire by day and a cloud by night. His words fell on deaf ears. Looking for someone to blame, they turned to Moses and on God. They started saying, because the Lord hates us, he has brought us here for the Amorites to destroy us. He brought us here to destroy our children. Let us pick up a new leader and return to Egypt. The next thing I knew, they were ready to stone Moses and Aaron. Caleb and I tore our clothes and tried to reason with the crowd, but the scene was becoming violent. They would not hear the truth. Their fear had turned to irrational anger and hatred. Just as they turned on us to stone us, the glory of the Lord appeared in the tabernacle. Yahweh's sudden appearance quieted the crowd as Moses went to speak with him. Yahweh's patience had worn thin, and his anger was hot. He spoke to Moses, how long will these people reject me? How long will they not believe me with all I have done among them? Yahweh was ready to kill all of us and begin a new nation with the descendants of Moses. But Moses reminded Yahweh that his own good name would be ruined. The people on earth would think that Yahweh was unable to do what he had vowed to do. So Moses begged Yahweh to pardon us once again, and Yahweh did. However, the consequences of our sin as a nation this time were severe. Yahweh took an oath. To this moment, I cannot believe the impact this oath will make for years. This is what he said. Surely not one man of this evil generation shall see that good land which I swore to give your fathers, except for Caleb and Joshua. Caleb is given the area of Hebron because he wholly followed Yahweh and myself. I am to be the leader that takes the people into the promised land, not Moses. Moses would not even be allowed to enter the land, not Aaron or any of the elders. Turn back, Yahweh told us, toward the way of the Red Sea. Turn back. The reality of this direction burned in my soul. Turn back. I wanted to move forward, but back we would all go. Second year, 4th month, 13th day. The camp is ominously quiet this morning as Moses and Aaron had relayed to the people the rest of Yahweh's words the night before. Yahweh was serious. None of his generation of Israelites would be allowed to enter the promised land. 40 years from now, their children would be allowed to inherit the land, but not them. He even said, your children will be shepherds in the wilderness for 40 years until the carcasses of all of you who complain against me die in the wilderness. For 40 years you shall know my rejection. Reports are coming in now of the deaths of the other 10 spies. All 10 died of strange sickness that night. Caleb and I are thankful we are still alive. The people are in full mourning over the words of Yahweh and the death of their tribal heroes. A group of them have come to Moses, confessing their sin and now willing to lead the rest to go up and take the land. Moses tried to warn them that it was too late, that Yahweh was not with them, but they went anyway. What a presumption. It wasn't long until the Amalekites and the Canaanites who dwell in the mountains came down and attacked them, pushing them back to Hormah. Whatever were they thinking? Two wrongs do not make a right. They learned fast that trying to move into the land on their own efforts was not going to work either. All of their lack of faith has cost the entire camp 40 more years of waiting. Yahweh, strengthen my faith. Help me be courageous. Teach me your ways.
Many of us have heard this account of the 12 spies before, But rarely have we noticed the progression of fear used by the enemy to prevent Israel from moving forward into their promised land. Satan still uses this tactic today. During the COVID epidemic, he used fear of the unknown, fear of death, fear of pain, to grow into a frenzy across the nation and the world as his messengers turned a kernel of truth into a frightening lie. And then Satan challenged each one's faith in God to save them and their families. People became frightened and then angry at anyone around them. They turned to their own devices and the devices of man to rescue them, such as the vaccine and lockdown protocols. They would not listen to reason and no longer had the ability to separate the truth from the lies. Instead of turning to God, they became angry at anyone who chose to believe in him. They killed the careers and reputations of anyone who dared try to report the truth and shut their ears to any rational thinking. How is it that Caleb and Joshua held on to their faith? The answer is in Moses' speech in Deuteronomy. Actually, I memorized this verse when I was at the height of my illness. You shall not be afraid of the giants, but you shall remember well what the Lord your God did to Pharaoh and to all Egypt. Deuteronomy 7:18. The key word here is remember. Remember. Remember all that God did with Israel, and remember what God has done for you too. Write all of your victories down on cards and post them next to the promises he has given you. When you are in the wilderness between the promise and the fulfillment of the promise, remind yourself over and over that God has been with you all the while. He's with you now. Remember all the great things he has done for you, and remember, he will never leave you or forsake you. Substitute faith in the place of fear by remembering, and the truth will set you free.
And the lover of my soul, Creator God, He is Yahweh.